I was finally able to see Together. I was curious going into it if it was going to live up to all the hype that it got coming out of Sundance, and I actually really did enjoy this movie a lot. This video will contain spoilers. I've always loved Dave Franco and Alison Brie as actors. I must have been living under a rock for the past 13 years because I had no idea that they were actually married. I mean, you can tell they do have that long-term relationship chemistry with each other. So I think that adds a whole other layer to their performance. And overall, I just found it to be a very fun body horror film. It's not that gory, but I still think the effects here work really well. Honestly, for me, the scene that I found the most horrifying and grotesque is when they're in bed together. She turns on the light and just sees him sucking her hair down his throat. Getting hair in your mouth is always gross and disgusting. And I love the scene when their arms are fused together and she grabs the saw and is like, we got to do it. We got to disconnect from each other. And she says a line that she says earlier in the film. It's something along the lines of like, if we don't separate now, it's just going to be harder later. And she says that in the first part of the film, just referring to their relationship. And then she's saying it again when they're actually fused together. And I thought that was just a really nice callback. I'm always a sucker for a good callback. It's also much funnier than I thought it was going to be going into it, but I like that they added some humor. I'm kind of curious how people interpreted the ending because when I first walked out of the theater, I was like, okay, I guess that was kind of a happy ending. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, well, they didn't actually fix any of their problems. And if anything, they just let the relationship actually literally consume them. I did really love them dancing to the Spice Girls, though. That was probably my favorite moment. I would say the only thing about the narrative that I wasn't that crazy about is them bringing in this like cult element to it at the end. I don't know. I guess I just feel like we've been getting a lot of cults in movies lately. I just feel like the cult added like all these other questions around what was actually happening and who are these people and is the whole town in on it. And I was kind of okay with them leaving the explanation for what's happening a little bit ambiguous. Like they do set up at the beginning that there is clearly some sort of supernatural contamination happening in the water supply of the area. And I would have been totally okay with that if that had just been the explanation for it. Although I was a little intrigued by them bringing in Plato and Plato's philosophies. I am not that well educated on Plato. I know the very basics of it, but for anybody that does know more and can maybe interpret the symbolism a little bit more, I would be very curious to know what kind of other metaphors the director might be playing at here. But overall, I loved the film. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know if it quite lives up to the level of hype that it's getting, but I did find it very enjoyable, and I would say it is one of my favorites of 2025 so far. What did you think of Together? Let me know in the comments.